Have you ever stopped to think about what really happened in the last days of Jesus' life? Holy Week is one of the most sacred periods in the Christian calendar, and each day holds a deep meaning. In this video, we will walk together through the remarkable events of this week, with a special focus on Good Friday, the day the Son of God gave himself out of love for humanity. But before reaching Calvary, Jesus went through intense moments, confrontations, prayers, prophetic gestures. By watching until the end, you will understand how every step, every word, and every gesture of Jesus during that week carried an eternal weight. Let us reflect on the suffering, the silence, and the redemption that marked Good Friday. Get ready to rediscover the greatness of Christ's love. Stay with us until the end and dive into the spiritual depth of Holy Week like perhaps you never have before. Holy Week unfolds in the heart of the first century, more precisely between the years 30 and 33 of the Christian era. The setting is the region of Judea, then under the rule of the powerful Roman Empire. Jerusalem, a sacred city for the Jews, was bustling with pilgrims because of the celebration of the Jewish Passover, one of the most important feasts of Israel's religious calendar. Politically, the Jewish people were living through a delicate moment. Governed by Herod Antipas in Galilee and by Pontius Pilate in Judea, the people suffered from heavy taxes, repression, and constant tensions between Roman authorities and the people's messianic hope. Many awaited the arrival of a political liberator, a warrior Messiah who would drive out the Romans and restore the kingdom of Israel. Religiously, leadership was in the hands of the Pharisees, Sadducees, and scribes. They strictly upheld the law of Moses, but were often more concerned with power and appearances than with true justice. It was in this atmosphere, filled with expectation, tension, and faith, that Jesus of Nazareth appeared, not as a warrior, but as the suffering servant, willing to give his own life for the salvation of all. We then arrive at Good Friday, the most solemn day in all of Christian history. In the early morning, Jesus is arrested in Gethsemane after hours of intense prayer and inner suffering. Judas betrays him with a kiss, and he is taken to the religious courts, where he is accused of blasphemy. He's then handed over to Pilate and goes through a civil trial under pressure from the crowd. Although Pilate finds no fault in Jesus, he ultimately gives in to the pressure and condemns him to crucifixion. Jesus is scourged, crowned with thorns, and carrying the cross, walks to Golgotha. Along the way to Calvary, he meets his mother, Mary, who follows him with pain and faith. Simon of Cyrene is called to help carry the cross, showing that even on the path of suffering, God raises up support. The women of Jerusalem weep for him, and Jesus, even exhausted, comforts them. Each step is a litany of love. As he is nailed to the wood, Jesus prays, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." This phrase echoes the core of his mission, to offer forgiveness. The response of the good thief, who asks to be remembered, is welcomed with the promise of paradise. It is on the cross that the divine justice of a God who saves through sacrifice, not condemnation, is revealed. While many mock him, the signs of nature announce something momentous. At a certain moment, darkness covers the earth. The veil of the temple is torn. The earth trembles. A Roman centurion, upon seeing how Jesus died, declares, "Truly this was the Son of God." The Passion of Christ transforms hearts, even the most distant ones. The Gospels show us that only a few remained faithful at the foot of the cross: Mary, the mother, John, the beloved disciple, and a few women. The faithfulness of these few shows us that even in the darkest moments, faith can endure. Jesus entrusts his mother to John, and in doing so, entrusts the entire church to Mary's maternal care. As he cries out, "I thirst," he reveals his desire to save, his longing for every soul. And with "it is finished," all scripture is fulfilled. His death is not a defeat, but a victory over sin and death. Jesus is taken down from the cross, and his body is wrapped in linen and placed in the tomb. The Sabbath approaches, and it all seems to be over. But for God, this silence prepares the greatest of all victories. Good Friday is the pinnacle of surrender, obedience, and unconditional love. As we contemplate this day, we are invited to enter into the mystery of the cross, not with despair, but with hope. For the cross, which seemed to be the end, is in fact the beginning of a new life, the redemption of the world through the surrender of a God who loved to the end. Good Friday confronts us with the deepest reality of the Christian faith, the love of God manifested in suffering and on the cross. It's not merely about recalling a historical fact, but about remembering an event that continues to transform lives. The surrender of Jesus was not an accident or a failure, but the culmination of his mission to save humanity through a love that gives itself to the utmost consequences. As we look at the events from Holy Monday to the crucifixion, we see a determined Christ, fully aware and deeply committed to the will of the Father. He does not back down in the face of hostility, but faces the path of suffering with divine dignity. His actions in the temple, his teachings throughout the week, his prayer in Gethsemane, and his passion reveal the greatness of a God who walks with us and for us. Today, we are invited not only to contemplate the cross, but to embrace it in our own lives. The cross of Christ gives meaning to our pain, sheds light on our suffering, and calls us to true conversion. It is in the silence of Good Friday that we learn to hear the voice of God speaking in the heart. If this content touched your soul, like this video, share it with someone who needs to rediscover the meaning of the cross, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the upcoming reflections. May the passion of Christ inspire us to live with more faith, hope, and love. May God bless you deeply. May God bless